We were not even fighting this morning. All I did was say sorry.
Did something happen to you?
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's defamation trial seems to be all anyone can talk about these days as the court case forges on. It is nothing short of a media circus as the trial is being live streamed on the internet for all the world to see and consume. Johnny Depp is suing Amber Heard for defamation for $50 million. He had previously sued The Sun, an English-based newspaper, for defamation after they labeled him as someone who physically harms others. He lost that case, and this new one, for all intents and purposes, seems like the turning of the tides, with the key difference being key witnesses are finally allowed to speak during this trial, where previously they were barred. Wherever you stand on the matter, I will do my best to give an extremely unbiased account of the trial to best aid you in coming to your own conclusions about this undoubtable mess. Johnny Depp was born in Kentucky, but would move around frequently with his family before settling in Florida. His parents got divorced when he was 15. When his mother remarried, Depp would later consider his new stepdad to be an inspiration for his acting work. Johnny didn't start out in acting, however. In fact, he dropped out of high school with the idea of becoming a rock star. Although he tried to go back to high school 2 weeks later, his principal encouraged him to follow his dream of being a musician and to only come back if he thoroughly wanted to, not because he felt he had to. Different times, I guess. Anyways, Johnny began playing in a band that received moderate success in Florida, so they moved to LA to try and get a record deal. Sadly, the band would split up before they ever got said record deal. Johnny Depp got into acting kind of on accident. He was already in LA because of his defunct band, and he met actor Nicolas Cage through his then wife, Lori Ann Allison. Cage encouraged him to pursue an acting career and got him into touch with his agent. Johnny Depp viewed acting as a way to pay the bills while he pursued music, which is hilarious. It's like saying you're a theater major to pay the bills while you pursue a passion in accounting. Then, as he kept getting roles, he found himself suddenly with the title of actor, especially when he was cast in the series 21 Jump Street at 22 years old. Johnny Depp's ethnicity comes into question a lot because of his darker features, but the only non-white ancestry he has dates back to a colonial freedom fighter in the 1600s, so that definitely wouldn't contribute to his complexion. In fact, he's primarily French and American. Although he said that he may have some Native American in his bloodline, that was proven to be untrue and led plenty of people to criticize his choice to portray Tonto, a Native character in the movie The Lone Ranger. An ad featuring Johnny Depp and Native American imagery that promoted a fragrance by Dior, literally named Sauvage, aka Savage, was obviously pulled in 2019 for cultural appropriation and racism. Now, we all know what has happened since then. He went on to do bigger and bigger roles, more particularly with Tim Burton, as part of his repeating troupe of actors that include Helena Bonham Carter. He also went on to star in the Disney series Pirates of the Caribbean, for which I'd argue is his most known role as Captain Jack Sparrow. Famously, studio executives disapproved of the messiness of Jack Sparrow and wanted him to be a more PG pirate, but fan bases responded so positively to the character, they were forced to let Depp's portrayal become a mainstay. By 2012, he was listed by Guinness Book of World Records as the highest paid actor in the world, earning $75 million US. Now, let's get into his personal life. He has 2 kids with his ex-wife Vanessa Paradis, a French actor. Although they sadly divorced in 2012, they remained close and co-parent their children. When asked about having children in an interview, Depp stated that having a family gave him a, quote, real foundation, a real strong place to stand in life, in work, and everything. You cannot plan the kind of deep love that results from children. Fatherhood was not a conscious decision. It was part of the wonderful ride I was on. It was destiny. All the math finally worked. Depp also has a well-documented struggle with substances. Apparently, it started when he took his mother's nerve pills at 11 years old. By age 14, he was doing pretty much anything he could get his hands on. Although he had a few years where he was sober, during his time with Amber Heard, Depp would later admit to being fully hooked on a cocktail of substances. Now, let's get into what you're here for, the trial. Amber Heard and Johnny Depp met in 2011 on the set of a film after Depp divorced his wife. Their relationship was extremely volatile, yet despite this, they would marry in a civil union in 2015. Then, in 2016, Amber filed for divorce and got a temporary restraining order against Johnny Depp. She claimed that when he was intoxicated, Johnny harmed her verbally and physically. Johnny denied these claims and said that she was only after money from the settlement. The divorce was finalized in 2017 after Johnny Depp agreed to settle for $7 million, of which Amber claimed that she would donate to the LA Children's Hospital and the American American Civil Liberties Union, which is like a non-profit human rights organization. Now we get into the lawsuits. In 2018, a year after the divorce was settled, Johnny Depp took a newspaper in the UK called The Sun to court for labeling the actor as someone who harms his wife. The case was highly publicized, with both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard testifying. Then in 2020, the High Court of Justice ruled that 12 of the 14 incidences of harm claimed by Amber were, quote, substantially true. The court then rejected Depp's claim of a hoax and accepted that Heard had her career and activism damaged because of Johnny. Following the verdict of this trial, the actor resigned from the Fantastic Beasts franchise because he was asked to do so by Warner Bros. Although Johnny sought to appeal the verdict made against him in 2021, he was rejected, with the court stating that they found no reason to believe that the case wasn't done properly. His lawyers even accused Amber of not donating the money she promised to the charities, but she said that she had not been able to do so because of the lawsuits against her by Depp. In addition to suing The Sun, Depp also decided to sue Amber herself for defamation in 2019 over her op-ed about being a survivor of harm. Although she didn't name him in the article, it was pretty clear who it's about. He claimed that he had lost out on jobs and roles because of the op-ed, which he deemed to be untrue and false. Amber countersued, saying that Johnny ran a smear campaign against her on Twitter. When the Sun lawsuit ruled in Amber's favor, she applied to have this lawsuit against her dismissed, but the court rejected it because the suit was against the Sun and not Amber, so they were different. Now, the main difference between this case that's currently ongoing is that key witnesses are allowed to testify for and against Amber, whereas the previous trial was focused on the Sun and making sure they upheld journalistic integrity. With this case being directly against Amber herself, much more evidence is allowed to be unveiled. Like, for example, texts between Johnny Depp and a friend about wanting to burn and aggressively harm Amber's body. Similarly, phone call recordings of Amber admitting to hitting Johnny were played in the courtroom, and Johnny claims that Amber left human feces in his bed. Some audio clips show Depp loudly shouting vulgarities at Amber, calling her degrading names. He winced on the stand as the clips played, with Amber looking to be fighting back tears. The toxicity of their relationship was apparent and indisputable, with each person seeming to have done harm to one another. It is also now being alleged that Amber had cut a portion of Johnny's finger off after she threw a bottle at him, although she alleges that he cut it off himself during a bout of substance use. While the lawsuit is technically supposed to center on whether Depp was defamed because of Amber's op-ed article, most of the trial has focused on the ugly details of the couple's marriage. Additionally, because it's being broadcast live online, the media circus surrounding the case has been insurmountable. It also can't help that key witnesses include celebrities like James Franco and Elon Musk, who are both set to testify. It seems that this case has become less about libel and defamation and is viewed more and more as some sort of twisted television show for audiences to enjoy and laugh at. The amount of TikTok videos I've personally seen where Johnny Depp epically owns Amber Heard while pumped up music plays in the background is a little disgusting. No matter whose side you happen to take on the matter, I wish more people would focus on the fact that this is people's real lives and real traumas. Please try to be more empathetic to how hard this is for all those involved.
Did you have a good look at her face during that conversation?
Yes.
Amber Heard's name seems much more synonymous with the case she's been embroiled in with her ex Johnny Depp than she does with the movies she's in. As I write this script, the live stream of the trial between Amber and Johnny is currently underway. Text messages were revealed between the former lovers that showed just how toxic and violent the relationship got, with cops being called and extremely harsh words being spoken between one another. Celebrities have also been called to testify, including actors like Jason Momoa and people like Elon Musk. Just a warning, I am going to remain relatively impartial during this whole thing to show just facts rather than diluting it with my own opinion on the whole thing. So let's catch up with just how the trial is going between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Amber Heard was born in Austin, Texas, to a very outdoorsy family that would routinely horseback ride, fish, and hunt. Amber herself was very involved in the scene and raised stoutly Catholic throughout her childhood. However, when she was a teenager, Heard began identifying as an atheist after her best friend passed tragically in a car crash. A year after the tragedy that left Amber in shambles, she stated that she, quote, no longer felt comfortable in conservative, God-fearing Texas, and decided to move to Los Angeles to pursue acting while earning her high school diploma through a home study course. In her mid-teens, living in LA by herself, Amber began her work in acting straight away. She started appearing in small television and music video roles in the early 2000s. A few years into her career, she began receiving leading roles in C-list slasher movies and teen dramas. Her first big break came about in 2008, when she obtained a role in the cult classic comedy Pineapple Express. She went on to star in much higher profile films alongside actors like Nicolas Cage and Demi Moore. In 2017, Heard landed a role in the movie Justice League as Aquaman's love interest. And up until now, she was set to appear in the next installment of the film, set to be released near the end of 2022, but more on that later. Amber Heard was embroiled in 2014 in a mass celebrity lewd photo leak where several celebrities had their private photos distributed without their consent. Being a victim of having private images leaked has led Amber to write an op-ed about feeling taken advantage of during the digital age and how easy it is for predators to access your information. Now, let's get into the controversy that has Amber almost completely consumed. Back in 2011, she first met Johnny Depp on the set of a movie. The pair began dating near the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. This came on the coattails of Depp's separation from his partner of 14 years. Before we fully get into their relationship, it is worth noting that Amber had been arrested back in 2009 for harming her then-girlfriend in Washington, wherein it was alleged that she aggressively grabbed and hit her girlfriend. All the charges were dropped, however, with the alleged victim herself stating that it was blown way out of proportion. Anyways, back to the Depp-Heard romance. The pair got engaged in 2014 and ended up getting married a year later. Their relationship would only last until mid-2016, however, when Heard officially files for divorce from Johnny and accuses him of physically harming her. She claimed that he hurt her when he was under the influence of substances. My language here has to be careful because of YouTube, just so you know. She further says that he threw his phone at her and left her with a bruised face. However, the cops released a report stating that when they showed up to the couple's home on the call of harm, they found that no crime had actually taken place. Johnny Depp, meanwhile, vehemently denied these accusations and accused Amber of, quote, attempting to secure a premature financial resolution by alleging harm. Initially, when the case was just beginning, a $7 million settlement was agreed upon outside of court, where Depp paid Heard the money and they both released a joint statement stating that, quote, our relationship was intensely passionate and at times volatile, but always bound by love. Neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. So it seems like they both freely admitted that Johnny Depp hurt Amber Heard, and Hollywood would react accordingly. In the midst of holding high-profile individuals accountable for their actions, Depp was basically blacklisted from work for quite some time. He was dropped from movies, and no one was going to hire him. In 2018, a year after their divorce was finalized, Amber wrote a Washington Post op-ed about the treatment of women in domestic harm cases. Despite never naming Johnny himself, it's pretty clear who the article was aimed towards. Due to this article, Depp sued Heard for $50 million, accusing her of defamation of character, and basically lying in her piece. In the lawsuit, Depp accuses Heard of lying about being hurt by Johnny, and instead he claims that she hurt him. In a court filing that attempted to cancel the charges, Heard details multiple instances of harm and even refers to Johnny Depp as a monster. The pair continue to throw accusations at one another, with Depp claiming that the actress cheated on him with James Franco and Elon Musk, and Heard claimed she still has scars on her arms from when her ex allegedly dragged her through broken glass. All this seems pretty confusing, and a lot of he said, she said. That was until in 2020 when phone recordings were released in which Heard admits to hitting Johnny Depp. In the recordings, she says, quote, I'm sorry that I hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I wasn't hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched. The conversation then continues, with Depp claiming he left because he didn't want their fight to get uglier, and Heard replying, quote, I can't promise you I won't get physical again. God, sometimes I get so mad I lose it. This is the most solid, damning evidence to date that the public has been made aware of that would officially prove that Amber was the one committing harm rather than the other way around. During the lawsuits, two of Johnny Depp's former relationships, including the 14-year one he had prior to Amber, both claimed that Johnny had never hurt them nor made any indication of him hurting anyone. One ex-partner stated, quote, the idea that he is an incredibly violent person is the furthest thing from the Johnny I know and loved. I cannot wrap my head around these accusations. As of right now, Johnny Depp has been denied 2 separate times an appeal of the court's ruling that he had harmed Amber, despite all the evidence against her. His defense lawyer has this to say about the ruling. Quote, "Most troubling is the judge's reliance on the testimony of Amber Heard and corresponding disregard of the mountain of counter-evidence from police officers, medical practitioners, her own former assistant, other unchallenged witnesses, and an array of documentary evidence which completely undermines the allegations point by point." Despite the legal ruling that completely sides with Amber Heard, which resulted in Johnny Depp being asked to step down from his role in the Harry Potter spin-off Fantastic Beasts, the public has very clearly sided with Depp. The legal fight definitely is not over though. As it stands now, Johnny is suing Amber for defamation, claiming that her allegations against him are false and constitute mischaracterization. The results of this trial could finally turn the case in Depp's favor. While the public is very clearly sided with him, so far the court has been completely obstinate. What we know right now of the cases that are currently in progress is that more and more texts are being revealed in court with just how violent things got. They're recounting testimonies, and Johnny is claiming that Amber's false accusation led him to lose movie roles and made it difficult for him to supplement his income. It seems like based on the evidence, both parties have been extremely harmful to one another. They both instigated fights and egged each other on, where harm became common and expected. At the end of the day, it seems like a genuinely toxic space, but very obviously, Amber has been let off with a much easier sentence. She retains movie roles. Well, until now. Following the verdict that denies Depp's defamation lawsuit, a Change.org petition was started that demanded Heard be fired from her newest movie, Aquaman 2. The petition reached 2 million people who signed it, and in January, it was confirmed by the director of the film that she had indeed been released from filming and would not appear in the latest installment. Only time will tell just how messy this will continue to be. And as it stands with the trial in progress, I wish I had more information than I do, but it's just not available.
Queen of pop, belly tops, and all kinds of crazy. It's Britney Spears. We all watched in awe as this lucky star rose to the top. With over 100 million records sold worldwide, Britney Spears is one of the best-selling music artists of all time. Though she has outstanding credibility in the music industry, her personal life started to take a toll in the early 2000s, which of course led to the infamous 2007 incident. We watched as her toxic lifestyle took over and poorly impacted not only her mental health, but her whole life. We also learned that Britney was forced into a conservatorship by her father Jamie that lasted for 13 years. In that time, she had no freedoms and was still being worked to the bone. But she is finally free from this conservatorship, and she is preparing to go after her family for what they put her through. What's happening, friends? It's Emily here with Where Are They Now? And this is Britney Spears. She started her amazing career off by joining the Mickey Mouse Club as a Mouseketeer, where she met stars like Christina Aguilera and future boyfriend Justin Timberlake. OMG, do y'all remember those denim on denim outfits her and JT wore? Iconic. At the age of 17, Spears released her first song, Hit Me Baby One More Time. She continued to write songs and albums, she starred in Pepsi commercials, and who could forget the classic hit movie Crossroads. Britney even created her signature perfume, Fantasy, which to me smells like pure cotton candy. Of course we can't forget her marriage to Kevin Federline, aka K-Fed. During their marriage, Spears was gifted with 2 beautiful boys, Sean and Jaden, though after serious mental health concerns were taken from her custody and given solely to K-Fed, though she does have visiting rights with them now. But after nights of partying with Paris and Lindsay, and days of being tormented by paparazzi, we all watched as this beautiful bright star fell from the sky. In 2007, Britney tried to fight back everything that was bringing her down. She was tired of people grabbing and touching her, tired of the negativity towards her, and the paparazzi never leaving her alone, even when she asked nicely. Ultimately, Spears took matters into her own hands. That night, she went to a salon and asked them to cut off her hair. But nobody would, and I don't blame them, her hair was unreal. So she did it herself. Paparazzi continued to harass the poor girl, and that's when she decided she had had enough. We've all seen the photos, the terrifying rage in her eyes. She took an umbrella and she started smashing one of the cameraman's cars. This was a cry for help, but to us, we only saw her at her peak mania. Britney was immediately hospitalized and sent to rehab. But our girl never quit making music. Hello, she's Britney Spears. She released her 6th album, Circus, at the end of 2008, which was the beginning of her conservatorship. Granted by the court system, this is put in place for individuals who are unable to make decisions on their own due to mental disabilities. Britney's father, Jamie Spears, decided that this was in her best interest, even though it gave him total control over her estate and all other areas of her life. These restrictions could range from what she's eating for breakfast, to what she's wearing, and even to what kind of toothpaste she could use. She hasn't even been able to buy books for her own children. That's insane! The conservatorship started as temporary, but was then extended after psychiatric assessment. Poor girl. There was also an incident with her old manager, Sam Lutfi, who was accused of being a strong influence in her bad behavior and mental breakdowns. Thankfully, a restraining order was issued against him. While her team of managers, lawyers, and family were busy trying to convince us and Britney that this conservatorship was a good idea, the Free Britney movement and campaign was up and running. It started in 2009, right after the conservatorship, and was created by superfans. Britney kept her head down and kept doing what she loved, earning her a 4-year residency in Vegas after the release of her 7th album, Piece of Me. In 2016, Britney tried to speak up about what exactly was going on in the conservatorship, but unfortunately, she was still experiencing mental health troubles, so the claims of her being exploited were excused. During the first official hearing in 2019, Jamie Spears' health began declining and had to take a step back from his role as conservator over her personal life, but was still in control of her finances. At this time, her sister Jamie Lynn was named a trustee of her finances and has recently been attempting to have the money from Britney's account moved into her personal accounts. Someone's a little jealous that she's not all that anymore. Since that nonsense, her estate was placed with a certified public accountant who will assist Britney to transfer her assets into her trust. Earlier this year, Britney finally felt comfortable speaking up in court. Her testimony stated that she had been medicated, forced to perform against her will, and is currently being prevented from having children. Finally, progress was made earlier this year when Jamie Spears was suspended as conservator of her estate after Britney accused him of exploitation. Through the ups and the downs, Britney manages to stay true to her bright and bubbly self. She is now happily engaged to Sam Ashgari, personal trainer and featured love interest in her music video Slumber Party. If you're on Instagram, then I'm sure you've seen all of Britney's recent posts, finally giving us a look on the inside. You can find her showing off her dance skills, her collection of cat suits, and even special trips with her sons and fiancé. She is even revealing more details about the conservatorship and is preparing to take legal action against it. In a recent article, Britney said, and I quote, "Honestly, my voice was muted and threatened for so long, and I wasn't able to speak up or anything. I honestly think you guys saved my life in a way. 100%. That absolutely broke my heart to read, but knowing that the Free Britney movement was and is behind her every step of the way, I truly hope she feels and receives the support that she deserves. We are finally starting to see the real Britney. I don't know about you, but I cannot wait to finally meet her. If you haven't already checked out the investigative documentaries like Framing Britney Spears, there's many others, but I highly suggest it. They go into thorough detail of the past 13 years of Britney's life during the conservatorship, interviewing friends, ex-employees, finally giving us the truth and showing us who Britney Spears really is. Britney has stated that she will be doing a tell-all interview with Oprah very soon. Britney has also expressed, and I quote, "I'm not here to be a victim. I lived with victims my whole life as a child. That's why I got out of my house and I worked for 20 years. I'm here to be an advocate for people with real disabilities and real illnesses. So, for now at least, we know that Brittany is stronger than yesterday, and she is finally free and able to live her life the way she was not able to before. Brittany has stated that she wants to get married and have another child, along with making more music for her fans. And I'm sure we all can't wait to listen.
What has caused this rift between you?
That love is still there, 100%. I love my sister. I've only ever loved and supported her and done what's right by her, and she knows that. So I don't know why we're in this position right now.
Jamie Lynn Spears just released a bombshell on her sister, Britney Spears, in her latest book, and Britney is totally not here for it. The sisters epically clash online, with each one seeming to want to publicly feud in front of all of their fans. And it seems like their relationship is all but over, with Britney claiming Jamie is a scum person. What we have right now on the drama could continue to tear Jamie's family apart. We'll walk through Jamie's life to attempt to examine what could have possibly led to the insane blow-up that everyone is talking about. Today, it's Jamie Lynn Spears. Tomorrow though, you decide. Let us know who you'd like to see in the next video by commenting down below with your suggestions. And please don't forget to like this video for more content just like it. Now, let's get into it. Jamie Lynn Spears was born in Mississippi but raised in Louisiana. There's a 10-year age difference between Jamie and Britney, who both have an older brother named Brian. Jamie was athletic, being both a cheerleader and successful basketball player in elementary school before she had to transition to online learning when she became a Nickelodeon actress. When she was only 11 years old, Jamie made her acting debut with a drama film called Crossroads. At this point, her sister was a bona fide celebrity and had been for years. Using her sister's success, Spears began working with Nickelodeon, first in a sketch comedy show, then making a guest appearance on a figure skating program. In 2004, 2 years into her acting career at the age of 13, Jamie signed a deal with Nickelodeon to star as the protagonist on an originally scripted television show called Zoe 101. The show centered on the main character Zoe, who goes to a boarding school with her friends. Jamie Lynn even sang the title song, which was written by Britney. It was the network's highest rated television series in over 8 years. Despite its massive success, one that propelled Jamie to a child icon in television, the series would only last for 4 years, and no one was quite sure why. The final episode, which aired in 2008, also suspiciously only featured Jamie Lynn from the chest up, never showing her lower body. That mystery, though, was soon unraveled when Nickelodeon issued a statement shortly after the series ended, announcing that Spears was pregnant at only 16 years old, and that the network supported Britney taking responsibility. It also noted that its primary concern was for her well-being. Jamie Lynn Spears' pregnancy was a massive shock to Nickelodeon. With teen pregnancy being so insanely stigmatized, people blamed her for going public with their pregnancy, stating that she was glamorizing it. She'd become pregnant by her boyfriend Casey Aldridge, who she had been dating for 2 years. He was 18 years old at the time of the pregnancy. Due to Jamie's religious upbringing, she and Casey decided to get engaged shortly after the pregnancy announcement, and the couple moved to Mississippi and purchased a home together to raise their child. There, Jamie Lynn Spears gave birth to her daughter Maddie. In her new memoir, Jamie describes the teen pregnancy situation. She said that when she told her father, he was more concerned about the PR nightmare that would ensue for her sister, Britney. About the experience, Jamie said, quote, "The entire Spears team was already caught up in my sister's PR difficulties, and everyone around me just wanted to make this issue disappear. They took my smartphone away, fearing the news would get out, and insisted that no one shared any information with anyone, especially the press. My daddy and I stopped speaking, and the tension was terrible." Spears then describes how the people around her tried to pressure her into not having the baby, and how the pleas were twisted into not making a mistake she'll regret for the rest of her life, with, quote, "I'll never forget that last plea of making a mistake I would regret, because it reinforced my decision to have my baby." Sadly, Jamie was unable to even tell her sister about the pregnancy, being kept under lock and key by her family. Britney only found out about the baby when the news was broken by the press, as she was not contacted by any member of her family while they tried to cover it up and convince Jamie not to go through with the pregnancy. During all this, Britney was battling her own demons, and the paparazzi storm was unbearable for Jamie, who attempted to file for emancipation from her parents in an attempt to separate herself from them and raise her child on her own. She did gain independence, if only to minimize the amount of negative press the family was getting, and Jamie subsequently disappeared from the media to raise her baby full-time. Jamie and her now husband broke up after 2 years together, making Jamie a single mom. They reconciled very briefly a year later, but that relationship didn't last. 3 years later, she began a relationship with a businessman, also named Jamie. The two would date on and off before announcing their engagement in 2013. They are now married and had another child together in 2018. Ever since she got her emancipation from her parents, Jamie has led an extremely private and quiet life. She shied away from the media and press, instead choosing to raise her children in normality. A few years after her disappearance, Jamie began slowly entering into the spotlight again. She's now a country music singer and acts in a Netflix television show called Sweet Magnolias. It all seemed relatively normal and tame in comparison to her tumultuous childhood. Then, in 2021, Jamie announces that she's writing a novel, which is set to come out on the 18th of January in 2022. To promote the book, she began doing interviews in press. For an ABC News interview, Jamie opens up about the trauma she experienced in her past. While she focuses mostly on her parents and the controlling relationship she had with them, she does describe her and her sister's bond. The interview begins tame, with Jamie feeling that Brittany was like a mother to her due to their decade-long age gap. Then, there's a bit of a turn where Jamie says that her sister was erratic, spiraling, and paranoid. Despite claiming no role in Brittany's conservatorship that controlled her life for 13 years, Jamie said she stepped away from her sister, feeling it was best not to have a strong relationship until after the conservatorship was dissolved. Once Brittany saw the interview, she immediately took to Twitter in anger. In the post, Brittany references the interview with Jamie and states, quote, "Two things that did bother me that my sister said was how my behavior was out of control. She was never around me much 15 years ago at that time, so why are they even talking about that unless she wants to sell a book at my expense?" Brittany then posts another tweet reacting to her sister's claim that Brittany had locked Jamie in a closet with a knife while having a panic attack. Brittany calls it a flat-out lie. Quote, "Please stop with these crazy lies for the Hollywood books. Now and only now, I do know only a scum person would make up such things about me." She continues dragging Jamie in the post, calling her low for the alleged lie in her memoir. In response to Brittany's anger, Jamie posts an Instagram story pleading with her older sister to call her so they can discuss the matters privately. The feud would continue publicly as both sisters lashed out at one another online. Brittany once again posts a tweet stating that her family treated her like nothing and that she had begged Jamie for support amid the rehab stints, to which Jamie took a distanced approach. In the last tweet Brittany released, she backtracked on a few statements, apologizing for calling Jamie Lynn scum, but remaining adamant that the book was lying. About Jamie's role in the conservatorship, Brittany said, quote, "I think we would both have to agree to the fact that the family had never been remotely as hard on you as they have been on me. What Dad did to me, they don't even do to criminals. So for you to sit back and act completely aloof to what has happened to me is honestly insane." Brittany has more to say when she accused Jamie of not genuinely being there for her, taking days to respond to cries for help, and only reacting when Brittany went public with Instagram posts about her breakdowns. Obviously, the relationship between the sisters is extremely raw right now, with Jamie finishing the feud by stating on an Instagram story, quote, "Please stop continuing the narrative that I haven't been there for you or that I'm making things up. I'm happy to share how many times I've reached out to you, supported you, and tried to help you. This is embarrassing and has to stop. I love you." This extremely public feud between the sisters is amid an already strained relationship where Brittany felt abandoned by her younger sibling amid her attempts to end the conservatorship. She had attacked her sister before online, which led to bullying by Brittany's fans toward the youngest Spears. She even claims to have received death threats from users for her distance. As it stands now, both sisters remain resolute in their opinions of their relationship, with Brittany feeling abandoned and Jamie Lynn refusing to accept that, stating that she had always been there for her sister. Isn't just Brittany, though, that felt Jamie was lying in her new memoir. Former co-star in Zoe 101, Alexa Nicholas, went to Instagram to refute claims that she had bullied Spears on set. Alexa had previously gone on record that she herself had been bullied by Jamie Lynn, and that she wasn't even invited back to the Zoe 101 reunion because of her, something that has caused long-lasting trauma for Alexa. Alexa rants about Jamie, quote, "lying up a storm" in her new memoir that paints Spears as the victim, when, according to multiple accounts, she was at best a bystander and at worst the instigator of hate. As it stands now, with Jamie's book due to be released tomorrow,
it seems that she is completely embroiled in tons of drama as reactions mount up against her tell-all memoir.
Since the first 3 episodes aired of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's Netflix documentary, the couple has faced a wave of backlash over some of the claims they've made about Meghan adjusting to royal life and their struggles with the family's acceptance of Meghan in general. Starting with even the trailer for the documentary itself, some apparent lies were already called out. Prince Harry claimed lies were told to protect his brother, Prince William, and suggested the couple, Harry and Meghan, were victims of institutional gaslighting. In response to that, Dickie Arbiter, who served Queen Elizabeth from 1988 to 2000, has debunked some of the allegations made by the couple and noted the couple are sending mixed messages saying, quote, "There are more holes in their story than a colander," which, to be lighthearted for a moment, is honestly a hilarious way of putting it. Dickie also had issue though when the Duchess of Sussex also revealed that their security was being pulled. Dickie gave a pretty good explanation, saying that was due to the couple moving to the United States and taxpayers won't pay for them to live in America, which I can't really argue with that one. That makes a lot of sense. In the documentary, Meghan also alleged that Kensington Palace advised her to not invite her niece, Ashley Hale, to her wedding. Ashley is the daughter of Meghan's half-sister Samantha Markle, who has had fallings out with the Duchess after the huge Oprah Winfrey interview that Harry and Meghan did back in March of 2021. Speaking on this claim though, a source close to the royal family told 9honey, quote, "We never gave any advice, steer, or guidance on who of her family or friends should or shouldn't come to her wedding." Another insider added, "Meghan didn't want the media to know about Ashley. No one on earth would have said don't invite family to the wedding. That's a complete and utter lie. We wanted more family there to make it look less weird for her." On the topic of this though, if you thought Piers Morgan would not be involved in this video, then you should have known better. Joining Piers on his show to discuss the first 3 episodes of the documentary was Sunday Times editor Roya Nika and her former royal correspondent Michael Cole. After Piers asked Roya for the truth about Meghan's claim, Roya replied, "That was not the account that 2 people who worked very closest with Meghan and Harry told me, both of whom had very specific recollections of that conversation with Meghan." The editor told Piers that it was Meghan who told the palace she didn't want her niece to attend the wedding to avoid exposing her to media scrutiny. At another point, the Duchess of Sussex claimed that she received no training when entering into the royal family. She compared it to the Princess Diaries, saying, quote, "Joining this family, I knew that there was a protocol for how things were done. And do you remember that old movie The Princess Diaries with Anne Hathaway? There's no class and some person who goes sit like this, cross your legs like this, use this fork, don't do this, curtsy then, wear this kind of hat. It doesn't happen, so I needed to learn a lot." Which, first of all, I kinda hate that she said The Princess Diaries is old because now I feel old. That movie came out in 2001, more than 20 years ago. I hate everything. But back to the point of the claim of no training. An insider has since disputed Meghan's claim, telling 9honey again, and they revealed that Meghan was given a 30-point dossier by Prince Harry's then private security, Ed Lane Fox, which included various experts who could help Meghan on various aspects of life, including the Constitution, ladies-in-waiting, fashion, public life, and other things. The claims by Meghan follow allegations that Meghan rejected Queen Elizabeth's offer to be guided by Sophie, the Countess of Wessex. Sophie is another member of the royal family that did not come from royalty herself. The book, Elizabeth: An Intimate Portrait by Giles Brandreth, who is a friend of the royal family, says, quote, "The Queen, who of course had seen it all before, understood that Harry's girl might find adjusting to royal life challenging to begin with, as she put it. To help Meghan, the Queen suggested that her daughter-in-law, Sophie Wessex, would be an ideal mentor. And the Queen even apparently said, quote, Sophie can help show you the ropes." The author continued on writing that Meghan apparently made it very clear that she did not need help as she had Harry. On top of that, the Duchess reportedly also rejected advice from Camilla, who was the Duchess of Cornwall at that time. So it seems that Meghan didn't accept the help that was offered, if it was actually offered at all, which I think it probably was. Viewers also spotted another problem with Harry and Meghan's recollection of their first meeting. Harry revealed in the first episode how he met Meghan, but it appeared to be contradictory to past versions of that story, and on top of that, fans spotted issues with the pair's new tale of his proposal as well. In a previous interview about their engagement in 2017, Harry claimed that he had proposed to the Duchess in the kitchen on a standard, typical night in their cottage, but in the new series, Harry says he proposed in a candlelit garden. At yet another point in the documentary, Harry claims he was blocked from seeing the Queen, which goes against what he told Oprah Winfrey during the 2021 interview. During that interview, Harry said, quote, "She said I have no plans for the week, why don't you come up and we'll have tea, stay the night, you and Meghan." With Meghan adding that they were on their way to Heathrow Airport and an urgent message came through saying that the Queen was busy, which was confirmed by the Queen herself, who told Harry she didn't know that she was supposed to be busy when Harry called her. Now in the second installment, Meghan has revealed why she opted for a trio of brightly colored outfits during the royal couple's farewell tour of the UK. Speaking in episode 5, Meghan said, "Until that last week in the UK, I rarely wore color and I never wanted to upstage or ruffle any feathers, so I tried to blend in. But I wore a lot of color that week. I felt, well, let's just look like a rainbow." But there are tons of photographs taken from many different royal outings over the years that prove that Meghan regularly wore many bright colors all the time. This is kind of a weird one. I don't know why anyone would lie about that. It's just bright colors. Kind of strange. There was also another point where Harry and Meghan spoke about being moved into Nottingham Cottage, a house in the grounds of Kensington Palace in London, which had previously been where Prince William and Princess Kate lived with Prince George. Speaking on this point, he said, "As far as people were concerned, we were living in a palace, but we were living in a cottage on palace grounds." For this one, I gotta say, one, you're living on the grounds of a palace, so shut up, you can't really complain about anything here. But two, the pair seem to forget that before they moved in, this cottage was Prince William and Kate Middleton's place when they had their firstborn son before moving in October 23rd to apartment 1A in Kensington Palace. It's not like a crappy place by any stretch of the imagination, so this one just seems kind of meh. I don't really like it. A lot of these points do not look good for the couple, and it does not help their situation, but they were going to receive backlash no matter what they did or said, and some people have gone to great lengths to try and find something to be upset about. For example, another kind of ridiculous criticism of the couple also came about from the documentary. People on the internet are claiming that the setting of the documentary's interviews wasn't actually at their home, and was instead at a bigger, more costly $33 million mansion, which is currently on the market located near the Sussex residence. Internet sleuths who care way too much about these things noticed that the photos of the property on the real estate page were the same as the backgrounds in some of the documentary's scenes. Okay, so let's entertain this criticism and ask ourselves, why would a different house have been used? Well, outside of the possibility that it was actually their house, one, the couple may have wanted to come across in a more lavish manner, therefore, by showing a property that had more opulence, it would have shown that they were living comfortably. If you think that makes them fake, then that's fair, but no one in the royal family isn't. But the second point, the internet sleuths who looked up all this information kind of proved the fact that it could simply have been due to security concerns. The couple may not have wanted to disclose their exact location, as well as the contents and layout of their own home to the whole world. But if we need a third point could be, it could have totally just been a production choice made for a variety of factors that have nothing to do with Harry and Meghan. Whatever the reason is, people on social media made their position very clear that they think the couple was trying to put on a persona that did not reflect their actual lives. I will agree that it doesn't help their situation, obviously, but I don't know about that one. The thing with this story is that the people who are longtime fans of the royal family absolutely hate Meghan, and they are quick to fight any claims she makes. Never once have I heard a royal family supporter agree with anything that Meghan says. But on the other hand, people who support Meghan or just don't like the idea of the royal family do the complete opposite, believing most of what Meghan says without even questioning it. And no matter your opinion, you are bound to run into large groups of people who will fight tooth and nail to disagree with you, no matter what. And I can already see the comments now who are going to disagree with that statement itself. Some comments about the topics that I have seen are just way too upset about the whole thing, in my opinion. This guy James wrote, "Prince Harry is an absolute embarrassment to the royal family. Him and Meghan should be stripped of any titles they have. The Queen would be devastated about the lies and deceit coming from the pair of them." People's feelings are intense on this subject.